Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Lets you escape.
Escapism feels good. Animal Crossing New Horizons dropped in March of 2020 and quickly turned out to be one of the best things coming out of the hell year that is year 2020. Now, what else was happening in March? Quarantine, chaos, disaster, fear, isolation, etc. Animal Crossing became a complete hit at the perfect time. But what makes Animal Crossing so calming and so good for mental health? We can talk about it. Open the history book. Katsuya Eguchi is 21 years old and bidding farewell to his family and friends to go work in the city. Naturally, this causes loneliness and a longing for what many of us take for granted, time with our loved ones and people you care about. So let's make a game where you move to a new town, something that is quite scary, but you're welcomed by cute animals who get to know you and you get to know them. You have your own little world to do simple tasks, and you make this loving community for yourself. We get to feel some social integration, meaning that it's our sense of belonging to a community, and some believe our social integration can help us live longer. It's good for us. I love my stupid conversations with all my villagers. I have to seek them out, and I enjoy talking to them, even when I've never spoken to my neighbor in real life. But then again, they aren't Goldie. Let's also talk about novelty as well, and how it's a dopamine activator. I feel good when I walk into the shop and find new clothing items, or when a gift falls from the mysterious balloon, even when it turns out to just be clay. Even with villager hunting, it's very fun not knowing what you're going to get and how there's just so many to choose from. Also, we get to easily decide what we want to do within our little world. If I want to cut every single tree down, I can. If I want to suddenly make a garden, I certainly can. It's easy, and having control over your environment is calming, and it especially was during the beginning of this year. Guess what else is calming? The pacing. A game with a 24-hour clock that doesn't force you into doing much and lets you go at your own pace. I love that I can be playing at 2 a.m. and it actually is 2 a.m. in the game, and my villagers want me to stop knocking on their doors. And if I want to do my tasks at a leisurely pace, I can. It also just helps me slow down, doing one thing at a time, even if it's something simple. We aren't really wired for multitasking, so stopping and concentrating on one task at a time is great. And they're simple enough, but also engaging. Overall, the game also just gives us some purpose. This isn't meant to be a thrilling game or one with a clear objective and ending point. Rather, it's your own little world and community. It's wonderful. Now, as this relates to the current world crisis we're still living through, I think this game really helped some through all of this. A lot of people have been stuck at home, especially in the beginning. We were told to self-quarantine, and connection with other human beings became a thing placed on hold as we adjusted to the new reality. Staying 6 feet apart, wearing masks to protect ourselves and others was the norm as the world battled this crisis, and still continues to battle it. I remember in the early months, Animal Crossing became a game that allowed for some connection by having the ability to visit other people's islands and play with them in real time. It became a way for friends to hang out without physically being together, friends or others. Because social isolation can have such an effect on people's mental health in a negative way, it was refreshing to have this option. Loneliness is actually very, very bad for the body and people, so this time was a stressful time. There's studies being done about video games and psychology, but specifically this Animal Crossing boom during this year in particular. And I can remember when it first came out, nobody could even buy a Nintendo Switch. There was a huge shortage because people needed to stay inside, and naturally sales kind of went up, and also because Animal Crossing did drop. As mentioned before, this game hit at the very best possible time, and everyone jumped on this bandwagon, even celebrities and other notable individuals like Chrissy Teigen, AOC, and so on. When the game came out, it had one of the strongest launches in history, and at one point being the most talked about game in the world. There's no nastiness, there's no violence that exists. They get absorbed in the day-to-day things without the real-world consequences. It's like you've been transported to a parallel universe. It's the universe you've always wanted, but can't get. Truthfully, the game made an impact, of course, and it still is rather popular. I think this whole phenomenon was very interesting, and I'm glad we had such a game like this to help through the chaos. Thank you for watching. Please stay safe.